Hello, and welcome to Birthing Beyond Borders, a podcast where we share the stories of migrant moms from around the world. From sleepless nights to moments of joy, we'll be diving into the real, raw, and inspiring journeys of motherhood. Get ready to laugh, learn, and experience a range of emotions while being inspired. I am your host, Adejumoke Olopade, and together we'll uncover the challenges, celebrate the wins, and honor the wisdom mothers carry across borders. Welcome to our community space. In this episode, I have with me Fatima, who is a workplace health and safety professional and the amazing mother to a beautiful baby girl. Fatima, welcome to the Birthing Beyond Borders podcast. We're so excited to have you.
Thank you so much, Jumoke. It's really nice to be on here also to also share my experience, especially as an immigrant, a mom living in the United States, and I would say working mom also. So yeah, I'm really excited to be here.
Awesome. We're really excited to have you. And thank you so much for accepting to be our very first guest, actually.
Thank you.
So, So Fatima, my very first question to you is tell us a little bit about yourself. You know, who is Fatima? What's your story? How did you find yourself in the US? Tell us whatever you feel comfortable sharing.
Right. Thank you. Just a little about myself. As you already know, my name is Fatima and I'm from Nigeria. That's in Africa. So I've been in the United States for a little over 6 years, I would say. Living in the United States for a little over 6 years. And I came to the United States to further my education in public health. So I currently have a master's in public health, and I came to the United States for that. Of course, coming from Nigeria, it was a little bit challenging, but being here, I've gotten to be able to adjust to the cultural differences and everything that comes with it. And I think I would say I don't regret being here.
Yeah, I heard you say that you've gotten a chance to adjust to the cultural difference.
Mhm.
I think for a lot of immigrants, I think one of the biggest adjustments we always have to make is adjusting to the culture, and it's in the little things like, I don't know, just saying hi and hello to your neighbors
Right.
and not like having more authentic conversations
Yeah.
and building kind of relationships that we'll build with our neighbors back at home. So that adjustment has been a very interesting one.
Yeah.
Um so since moving to the US, what would you say is your favorite thing about living in America?
I would say living in the United States has kind of opened my eyes to different things that I didn't know uh
Mm-hmm.
could be possible living back in Nigeria. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Here in the United States, you have so many opportunities. And I think that's something I really like. You're not limited to what you're able to do. You're not limited to your capability, and you're also not limited to how far you can go. Again, I feel like being in the United States, if you have the mindset of what you want to become and who you want to be, you can definitely get to that. And I think that's something that I really like. And not a lot of people have that chances back in Nigeria. Of course, things are way better than it used to be. Even for people in Nigeria now, because they are able to work with foreigners now, foreign companies, I would say. And yeah, it's better than it used to be. But I would definitely say that that's one thing among others that I believe is a leading trait for me.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that. It makes me think of the American dream and how technically we all can achieve the American dream. Get a good education, you get a good job,
Mhm.
you're able to get a mortgage, you can get a nice house, you can get a nice
Right.
all of those basic things.
Mhm.
That's so achievable here in the US. So yes, thank you so much for pointing that out. And I'm sure a lot of our listeners can relate to that as well.
Definitely.
Yeah. So at this point, I'm going to transition us to your experience as a mom. So walk us through the moment you found out you were pregnant. What did it feel like? How did you react? Were you scared? Were you excited? How did you tell your husband? What was all of that emotions like for you?
Thank you. That was a very great question though, because again, with the fear that come with being pregnant, and the happiness that also comes with it, it's a mixed reaction for me, I would say, because again, I'm someone who's very far away from home. I'm very far away from my family, very far away from my parents, very far away from my siblings. And being pregnant, of course, this is something myself and my husband want, but at the same time, it doesn't make it easier just because we know what we want. At the time I found out I was pregnant, I called my husband. Again, I was scared. I was happy. I was anxious. Everything was setting it at the same time. I told him he was happy about it, obviously. But at the same time, I started thinking of the things that I never thought about before. Of course, before I became pregnant, we talked about it and we say, okay, fine, we're ready. Let's go for this. But the realization doesn't set in until that actually happens. Then I started thinking of, all right, now, okay, this has happened. What are the challenges that I'm going to face? And then I started realizing the things that I never put into perspective before. For example,
Mhm.
hey, how am I going to train this girl or this, daughter of mine or this child of mine? How am I going to train him or her on my home? How exactly
Mhm.
can I even make sure this girl survives? Do I know the best thing to do? Do I know the best decision for this girl? Do I know the best thing
Mhm.
for myself when it comes to parenting? Again, those kind of thoughts start flooding in, and I felt like at the point I started having anxiety and a panic attack because I just
Mhm.
didn't know what to expect. I was looking forward so much to it, but the moment it happened, I was happy, of course, but
Yeah.
just the challenges that I know would come in, would come after childbirth. I started thinking about that. And the pregnancy didn't make it any easier because, it had a little bit of its own challenges that at the point I started thinking in my mind, did I actually think I was capable of doing this? But
Mhm.
again, I feel like at the point people go through that. And I've heard a lot of stories
Right.
about other mothers that say, oh, I had really pleasant pregnancy. I was fine. Nothing happened to me. It felt like everything went by so fast. It wasn't the case for me. It wasn't all bad,
Right.
but it just wasn't the case for me.
Mm.
So I would say, I was scared. I was happy at the same time, but I feel like the anxiety was
Yeah.
most prominent in this case for me.
Mhm. Yeah. And I think that that's absolutely normal for most people. Like you said, being so far away from your family, I think that alone, can make anybody anxious about, oh my gosh, how am I going to take care of this baby? How do I know what to feed the baby? All of these things that go through your mind. And on top of that, there's like pregnancy symptoms that you have to like deal with,
Exactly.
navigate.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I guess how did you prepare for that journey? What made it well as easy as it was, or also what made it difficult? What are the things that helped you kind of like ease your anxiety
Mhm.
and just like prepare to be a mom?
So I that's a good question. Thank you. I think on my own end, right? For me and my husband, it was the fact
Mhm.
that I was able to have a companion or a partner that I could definitely rely on, and that also gave me that assurance that I'm not alone in this journey. You know,
Mm.
again, I know no matter how stressed I am about this, no matter how scared I am or I was, my husband was always there to kind of like let me know, to reassure me that, hey, you're not alone in this. If there's anything I could do to help, definitely. And I think one other thing is not gatekeeping all the all the fear that I have, not gatekeeping that to myself alone. Sharing this with my parents, having them, comfort me in their own ways, even though they're far away. Telling me, sometimes my mom even tell me her own stories. Of course, I was already old enough when she gave birth to our last child, or to our own last child, which is my sibling. And
Mm.
I was able to see the things she went through. So just using
Right.
that as a bit of consolation for myself, I was able to like kind of like, tell myself that, all right, it's not that bad. People has gone through worse. And I mean, there are a lot of single mothers that definitely wish they have someone who could definitely support them, even though they have some other family member here. But at the same time, I was grateful for what I had. So I
Right.
think that was able to like help me kind of like go past those stage where I could have fallen into depression. But
Hmm.
that helped me, and that definitely I would definitely not take that for granted.
Right. So it sounds like, having a supportive birthing partner,
Yeah.
in this case, your husband,
Mhm.
and then being able to like, turn to your parents back at home, even though it was over the phone or over like a video call, just like having those connections were very helpful in
Mhm.
helping you ease anxiety.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much for sharing that. My next question, Fatima, is in terms of like cultural practices. As Africans, there are certain cultural things that we've seen our parents do during pregnancy that we said to ourselves, oh, when I'm pregnant, I'm going to do this. Were there any cultural practice that you wanted to do or like you had planned to do during pregnancy that you were able to do or you were not able to do?
So for that question, I think it's two ways for me because I wasn't really, my parents are not really they're cultural, of course, but they're not like really into cultural things as much. So I didn't really get to. I mean, apart from the normal things you would do when you're pregnant, go for your doctor's appointment and all of that. They didn't really carry out any major thing that
Mhm.
I would have considered in my own case. So I
Right.
think for me also, I didn't have to consider. I just wanted to make sure I was okay. My daughter was okay. So I continue to follow up with my appointments. But I would say the only cultural thing that I did actually consider was sometimes in Nigeria, right? Or I would say in Africa, because a lot of people in Africa, a lot of countries in Africa also practice this. It would be the medications that you use. In Nigeria, they believe
Mhm.
that when you're pregnant, you're able to use some herbal medicinals, like some plants. That way the baby you have in your tummy is able to grow stronger, and you're also able to like overcome some of the challenges like nausea and all of that. But here, I wasn't able to get that. I didn't have access to that. So I think that's one thing that I felt like maybe it could have helped me with some of the symptoms I was feeling, but I didn't
Mhm.
have access to it here. So I would say
Mhm.
that was
Yeah.
the only thing I think I actually did consider.
Mhm. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that with us. So at this point, I'm going to transition us to that moment when you held your daughter in your hand. What did it feel like?
Moment. Um, I had a C-section. So I didn't have a vaginal birth. It was a C-section. But
Mhm.
even though I went to into the operating room with so much, I thought I had everything figured out at first. Again, it's just childbirth. I've watched a lot of videos. I've Google searched things. I've Google searched things. I feel like I was more than ready. But the moment I
Mhm.
stepped into that room, I saw the nurses, the doctors, the anesthesiologists, and everyone in there. And oh my God, the anxiety, the fear, everything crept in, and I just didn't know what to do. At the point, I burst into tears, and the nurses were consoling me, telling me it's normal, let it out and all of that. But
Mhm.
I got placed on the table, and they started doing their thing. And the moment they brought my daughter out and showed her to me and my husband, because he was in the room with me, I cried. But again, you imagine I've
Yeah.
been crying initially. I've been crying because
Mhm.
again, I was scared of everything. I didn't know how everything was gonna
Mhm.
turn out. Because again, you might think you will go in there and everything will go smoothly, and it might not. So,
Right.
being able to go in there and be able to see my daughter that I've waited so long to see was so
Mhm.
surreal. The feeling was so, it was so strange for me. It was a very loving feeling. It was something that I didn't think I could experience, but I did. And I felt like all my fears kind of like vanished in that moment.
Mhm.
All I just wished for, all I just continued to pray for was just, yes, let's go past this. We already done this. We've seen our daughter. Yes, let's just be strong. And now I have something to look forward to. So I would
Mhm.
say that feeling is just indescribable in my case. It was
Yeah.
no, it was surreal.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like, you were anxious at the beginning because of like all the medical professionals. And at that moment, it felt like it was real.
Yeah,
Like now it's happening.
exactly. Yeah.
Then you finally saw your daughter and it was like nothing else matters.
Nothing,
You,
nothing. I tell you that for sure.
yeah, yeah, that's exciting.
Thank you.
I also heard you say that you had your husband in the operating room with you, right?
Yes.
Did that make the experience better for you?
It was. It made it. Yes, definitely. It made it. Way better. Because I can imagine doing this on my own in there. I don't think. I
Mhm.
don't. I don't. I mean, I might have survived, obviously, but it would have been so difficult because again, when I was tearing up, and my husband was the one holding my hand, he was petting me, he was wiping my tears away. If
Oh,
I was in the room by myself, I would not call a doctor to come do that for me, right? I would just be there
yeah,
wallowing in my own sorrow or whatnot. So,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah, I was there with my husband. It was being a support system for me, like he has always been, and it made all the difference in that moment. It made all the difference in that moment. And I didn't have to, I knew I didn't have to do this alone. After I was done, when my daughter was brought out, he made sure that he attended to me. He also attended to our daughter, made sure I was okay, made
Mm.
sure our daughter was okay too. So, yes, that's something you can never even compare.
Okay, well, shout out to your husband for being a supportive birthing partner. We love to, hear experiences like that.
Yeah.
Um, I heard you talk about, the nurses were consoling you, and that takes me to our next question. Um, how did healthcare providers impact your childbirth experience? What role did they play? And not necessarily like in that theater room, but like leading up to that point,
Mhm.
like how did they impact the experience you had? Did you feel supported? Were there instances where you might have felt a little bit unseen, or that your culture was not taken into consideration during decision making, or just in general, like what role did they play in your childbirth and like the experience that you had here in the US?
Great. That's a great question. Well, I made research about the healthcare center I wanted to give birth in. At. I made so much research. I made research about who my provider should be. I searched. I talked to people that told me, some. I met with some people that told me they gave birth at Mister. I wanted to say, oh, and they told me, yeah, she's really good. The doctor that was the OBG, and they told me she's really good. Like, so I wanted to be with someone that I could definitely assure myself and my daughter's life with, and they did great. Of course, I go for my follow-up appointment every month. Oh, was it every month? Yeah, I would think every month. I can't really remember right now, but I think every month. And I was seen by different nurses, different doctors, and they were really nice to me. They didn't really consider the fact that I was African or I was black or I was brown, whatever color I am. No. So I don't think there was a moment or there was any moment where I felt unseen. But again,
Okay.
I'm also the kind of person who don't really ask for much. I would say in
Yeah.
my case, I just wanted, I wanted to trust the fact that they're professionals in this and they know better. Because again, this is my
Mm-hmm.
first time doing this, even though I might have seen or hear people say things, I wanted to trust that, okay, if I choose you to do this, that's because I trust that you can actually carry this out and, you
Mm-hmm.
can do it good or you can do it better. So yes, they were all professionals and shout out to them. They were really good. And I think if I have to give birth again, I would definitely still use them, of course.
Okay. That's definitely good to hear. As Black women in America, there are situations where sometimes, you get certain type of healthcare. But I'm so glad to hear that your experience was pleasant and that, your healthcare providers definitely played a good role in, your overall birthing experience. Those are the kind of feedback that, we love to hear and we love to talk about.
This episode of Birthing Beyond Borders is funded by the 4W Initiative and supported by the African Center for Community Development. Please check out these two wonderful organizations. Details can be found in the description below.
At this point, I'd like us to talk a little bit about your post-birth experience. A lot of people talk about postpartum. They say, oof, giving birth is hard, but then postpartum is like the real deal.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so what was postpartum like for you? What was it like emotionally, physically, spiritually?
All right.
Just what did it feel like?
Let me run it back from the first day after I had my baby. The first night I would say, because I had her in the afternoon, but the first night, of course, again, not even Google can prepare you for the challenges that you will face. Not even word of mouth. What if not even someone close to you? Not even your parents' experience can prepare you for what to expect. Because again, I've had people talk. I've had people talk about, oh, oh, the baby will cry at night. The baby will always want to be fed, blah, 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 blah. But they never talk about what actually goes into breastfeed on the baby. What are the challenges? Because trust me, the first time I had to breastfeed my daughter at the hospital, it was so hard because again, this is not something I was used to. I didn't know how to properly latch a baby to my breast. I did not know anything. Even though the nurses showed me a couple times, I didn't know anything. It was very hard for me. They showed me ways to position her that way she's able to properly latch. I still didn't know anything. But they also didn't talk about, all right, now you're able to produce. What are the challenges? They don't talk about that. And Google also definitely didn't inform me of that. So I had so many challenges when it comes to breastfeeding my daughter because I was able to start producing the third day, but just the pressure of the breast milk forming was so hard on me. I started tearing up. I was crying, but thank goodness that I had my aunt here with her kids. I had her here, and she was able to stay with me, teach me some few things because she had kids also, and teach me some things and helped me go through that process. Thanks to that. But even with that, even though I had someone, I think it would have been so much worse if I didn't have anyone here with me. My husband was also here. That was the good thing. But nothing prepared me about, oh, I just had a C-section. Nothing prepared me about how to care for a child overnight. Nothing prepared me for how to, make sure my child doesn't keep crying. How exactly am I supposed to pet her? How exactly am I supposed to feed her? I don't know how long I have to feed her for. I don't know when she's full. I don't know when she's not. I don't know. I don't know the cry clues. I don't know. I don't know if she's crying because she wants to feed. I don't know if she's crying because she's not comfortable. Even though I read about it just doesn't teach you enough. That's the thing. It doesn't teach you enough. Google doesn't teach you enough. Social media doesn't teach you enough. So
Did you like birthing classes? Some mothers like would go to like pregnancy classes and things like that before having a
I
baby.
attended
Did you?
one virtually. But again, even though they taught me about breast lactation, that again, except you actually experience it, just because you hear about it does not mean that when that time comes, like you are ready, your head's on. No. No. So even though I already know the basics when it comes to, breastfeeding the child and all of that, and of course I saw my mom breastfeed in front of me. But no, I think when it comes to our parent, they don't show you that emotion because again, they don't want you to think they're weak. But in this case, it wasn't helpful to me because I thought it was a field filled with roses. I thought it was a walk in the park, but it wasn't. It wasn't at all.
Mhm.
So I would say that yeah, postpartum it wasn't, and it still isn't the best for me because my daughter still wakes up in the night, even though people tell me, oh, it gets better. By the time they're 5 months, 6 months, they sleep through the night. No, my daughter doesn't sleep through the night. She sleep maybe at most 2 hours at a time, and then she wakes up, wants to play, or maybe wants to cry or wants to
Wow.
bathe. So yeah, and I have to couple with that, I have to also prepare for work in the morning, prepare her for daycare, prepare myself also. So it just feels like we are running on so much forward that we don't have. It's like we don't have the time, but we're running on it anyway. So yeah, we are here, and it's been a walk in the park, and we're just surviving. We're surviving. Yeah, I would say. Um,
Yeah, I hear you. I really do hear you. I also, caught on when you said that you started producing on the third day. So, what did that feel like for you? As a woman, expect that your body just like goes into like what it was built to do. I'm a mom, I just had a baby, I'm supposed to feed my baby. Why am I not producing milk to feed my baby?
mhm.
What was that like for you? And how did you navigate that moment?
Thank you. That's a really good question. So at the time I had my baby, my expectation was, oh, yeah, I was going to have breast milk. This guy's gonna be able to like latch properly and she's going to, get the milk. But I guess maybe I should have taken my lactation classes seriously, don't you think? So So yeah, the moment came, she didn't latch and she was not able to eat for a whole day. She didn't eat anything. Of course, the nurses told me, that's normal. She's fine. She didn't, her stomach is really small. She doesn't really need anything. But the second day came, she's still not eating anything. I started feeling so bad. I started feeling so sad. I was drowning self pity in this moment because I I felt so bad because again, why would my daughter not eat? She's human. Even though she's new, she's human. She needs food. So I had to call the nurses. Can you please give her formula? And they were like, "Is that what you want?" I said, "Yes." Don't you see she's starving? I mean, I had to tell them, like, don't you think she's starving? I was like, no, no. They weren't giving me the answers that I really wanted. So I was just like, you know what? Please give her formula. She needs to eat. She needs to eat. And of course, they gave her the formula and she ate. And fortunately, the third day in the morning, they told me to keep pumping. They told me to keep expressing that, when I'm done expressing that maybe the milk might come in or during the moments when I'm still expressing. And fortunately for me, the third day in the morning, I tried to express and I was seeing the milk. And that's where the worst cases started. Because again, the moment I started producing, my breast became engorged. And no one tells you that pain that comes with it. The pain that comes with your breast being engorged because of the breast milk. Hmm, that's another conversation for a good day. Yes, but it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. And fortunately for me, I was able to at least prepare myself further. I bought like some couple ant-free pumps that I had
Mm-hmm.
in my house, even though the hospital gave me one, but it wasn't the best. I had like the manual one, I had like the electrical one, I had different ones that I could use. And yeah, but the other challenge I would say was that a lot of times I wake up and my breast is so engorged that I feel like I start shivering, I start, running, breaking out in fever just because of that. I think there was a day that I even had to call my husband, please switch off the AC, please cover my body with the duvet. Please, I was so cold. And that was just because of my breast being engorged. That was
Oh
after
wow.
class. Yep.
Yeah.
So
Mothers do go through a lot. Yeah. Thank you for being vulnerable enough to share that with us. So when you had your baby, typically in Nigeria, when you have a baby, you would have relatives come stay with you. Your mom or your mother-in-law will come stay with you and help you, when you have the baby. But since your parents are back in Nigeria, did you have support from like friends or family during the postpartum period? Did you have people come around and help you? I know you mentioned an aunt was there, to help you like navigate breastfeeding and lactation. Did you have family members like kind of stay with you or provide support to you? And what kind of support did they provide to you?
Yes. I had friends that came over to, check on me, stayed couple of days. I also had my aunt and my uncle also came over, spent the weekend twice with me and my baby and my husband. And I think that really helped to kind of like, take off that pressure from us a little. We were able to get help financially, of course, from people. We're able to get help, emotionally, people calling just to make sure that we are fine, just to make sure that, hey, everything is good. If we need anything, they're there for us. And then also the family that also come over, cook, bring some food for us. Oof, God bless their souls. So yeah, we had those people, and we also had, some few friends that just come over, during the day, chat with us, just make sure that we're not just drowning in our own and pressure just at home, sitting at home. Because again, we were not able to really go anywhere. I just had a C-section. I wasn't really functioning as well, and I have a baby, and I was on leave. Obviously, I was on maternity leave, so we're just home. So we had
Mm.
friends over, we had, families over, we had families from my husband, because my husband's family, a lot of them lives here in the States with us. And some of them really live like, 20 minutes at most from us. So they were really helpful in the journey. They were very, very helpful in this journey. And we also had one of our grandmothers come over to bathe my baby for the first few days. They scrub the baby, scrub that body properly. Because again, as Africans, if you have a baby, it's of belief that you're supposed to have an elderly person come over, wash the baby properly, help strengthen the baby, help straighten the baby's bone and all of that. So yeah, we're able to make sure that
Okay.
we carry that culture on.
That's good. So it sounds like, even though you didn't have like your own parents and like some of your own family members, you still had your husband's family step in to support, which is good. Um, so I guess in terms of like mental health during postpartum, I know you had like anxiety around like having a baby when you were pregnant, but when the baby actually did arrive, how did it feel mentally? Like, did you ever feel like you were struggling at any point?
I would not say I was struggling because my mom didn't give me the time to struggle because she was always calling. She was always on the call. She was always on the phone, like every time. So I appreciate her so much for that. But I think there were times that I feel down because I didn't know what, again, I felt like I had so much expectations that I didn't think that I kind of like took lightly, I would say. Their expectations that when before I got pregnant, their expectations that, oh, all right, when I have the baby, the baby, all I have to do is feed the baby, make sure the baby doesn't cry. But no, no, I'm telling everyone, if you can hear this, no, that's not the only thing you have to do. So you have to make sure the baby survives. That's your work. So in this case, I was scared. And the reason why I'm scared was, how can I make sure this baby survives? How can I make sure that she's getting all the things that she actually needs from me? Am I able to actually cater for this child the way I thought I would be able to? I think
Right.
for a few days, I shed a little bit of tears in my home corners without anyone knowing. And that's just because of the fact that I was scared, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes
Yeah.
there was a day that I held her in my hand. She was, of course, she was not up to a month at the time. And she was crying. And I just felt so scared. Like I didn't know why she was crying because I literally just fed her. I changed her, but she was crying. And I was just like, is something wrong with that? Because again, that was exactly what made me scared. I don't know if something was wrong with her. I don't know how am I able to tell if she's going through anything? So I
Right.
think those challenges for me kind of like made me tear up and made me scared
Mm-hmm.
and sad at the same time. So, but again,
Mm-hmm.
the moment we're able to, and that's where having a partner that really cares about things and a partner that is hands-on is very important. Because again, if I didn't have my partner and it was just me doing this life alone, I probably would have depression. There's no doubt about that. But
Mm-hmm.
when I feel like I'm not strong enough to carry on, I would call my husband, and he can tell that, and he will carry on with the child, and sometimes he would take her from me to just to go to another room to care for her, and then I get myself back to normal, and I'm able to go back to that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think with that, I'm able to be of sane mind right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. So it kind of sounds like, having a supportive partner again was helpful in being able to like prevent, postpartum depression. And also you said your mom would not let that happen,
yeah,
which is very powerful. And I think back about like some conversations that I've had with some other African mothers from Congo this time around. And one woman said to me, she said, in Africa, they will not let you get postpartum depression.
yep,
And I said,
yep,
what does that mean? And she said, well, somebody's there to help you so you can sleep.
yeah,
Somebody's there to take
I
the baby
know,
from you. Somebody to cook for you. All of these things
yeah,
are things that, you have to navigate by yourself here in the
yeah,
US, especially if you don't have all these
yeah,
relationships. It's good to hear that even though you're not in Africa and your parents are not here with you, over the phone, they can still hold you down and still, make you
exactly, exactly.
feel
You're right on point.
yeah,
Mhm.
yes, yeah. So I'm glad to hear that.
Yes, and then I'm sorry to interrupt you, and that kind of like brings me back to when growing up in Nigeria. I've again, like I said, I've seen my mom had kids when I was grown, when I was older. Again, our third, my brother, which is my mom's third child, was born when I was 10 years old. So I vividly remember everything. And
Mm,
my mom's fourth child, I was already 12, and then my mom's last child, I was already 22. So yeah, I was growing up. But at the same time, that just doesn't prepare you. But even with that, I was able to experience I was able to see all the things my mom experienced during, postpartum. She had everyone around, from my grandma to her sisters, to her uncles, to her brothers, to our great grandma. Everyone was
oh, wow.
present. Yeah, it was always a full house. So where would depression come from?
Mm-hmm,
Oh, it would be
mm-hmm.
so hard for you to get depression because,
Yeah.
again, if you had depression, they would snap you out real quick. Like, hey, look at you, look around you. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
That
Yeah.
that we all, like, as immigrants in the United States, we wish we have things like that. We wish we have communities like that that can always
Mm,
hold us down when we going through something. But again, we will be thankful for what we have, and
right.
where we're able
Right.
to that the things we're able to get done.
Yeah. You know what you just said about how we wish we had those community type support takes me to our next question.
Hmm.
What kind of resources, formal, informal, helped you the most during pregnancy and postpartum? Did you have a doula? Did you have I know you mentioned like some extended family from your husband's side, but like did you have like religious spaces or community organizations or like what resources did you find to be most helpful?
Hmm. That's a little difficult question for me, because all of those things I didn't depend on. I didn't have a dollar. I didn't have any community. I'm not involved in any community or organization,
Mhm.
and I'm not involved in any faith space as I know of, because I don't
Yep.
go to church. I'm a Muslim, and I don't really I've not really been that active when it comes to me going to the mosque, so I don't really have any of that. And I don't really know a lot of people. Again, I'm a very close person. I go to work, I come back, I'm home with my husband, my daughter, and then few of my friends. If I'm not able to see them, we get on the phone. But that's pretty much it. So
Mhm.
I don't really have, apart from my OBGYN that I have, and few of the people at that same health center, I don't really have any other person, I would say.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, yeah. And that's fair. Again, as an immigrant, it takes a lot to like integrate into a new
yeah.
society, coming from Nigeria in your case, you probably had all of those community and society. And now you're coming to a
Yep.
new place,
Hmm.
and then you probably move to a new place when you get married, and then you have to start over again. So like that process can be somewhat challenging.
Yeah.
Um, but are there resources or services you wish you had access to? I know you had, like I said, extended family, but like are there, just seeing how it has all played out, having your baby girl, um, are there resources or like support systems that you think could have been very helpful for you that you wish you had access to?
So in my home case, it would not be resources, but I think I would say I wish I was able to be in the place where I had so I have a lot of my family members, extended families, I would say, from my dad's side. They live in Atlanta, Georgia. So sometimes I wish I live close to them, because if I live close to them, I know that I would definitely have the support that I wish I had. Apart from my mom being on the phone or my dad being on the phone, I'm pretty sure that my uncles, my aunts, they will probably like come over every week or thereabouts to come spend time with us. Or it might even be days where I would just take my daughter and we will sleep over there. So
Right.
yes, I do wish that, hey, I'm able to like just pack my things, tell my husband, babe, I'm gonna be spending few days or few weeks with my aunts, my hunk, and some other people that I have over there. And that would help lessen that challenge. But we're not close. So I sometimes I do wish that, we're able to get that done. But
Yeah. Yeah, that's a very good point. You see, that proximity is very
yeah.
important. Because sometimes, like in your case, you have this external or extended family that are here in the US, but they're not in the same state, and you cannot take a train to them
Yeah.
like you can. You have to like fly across states
Mhm.
borders and like having to fly with the baby. All of those things. So like just living close to them, I see how that could be something that could be very helpful in
Yes.
terms of like navigating this new space as a mom. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Um, so my last set of questions are basically like a reflection and like some sort of like advice for new moms. So looking back, what would you have done differently during your pregnancy journey or your postpartum journey? Is there anything you would have not done or you would have done, or is there anything you would have changed or you could change if you could?
So again, that's a really good question. So one advice I think I would have for incoming parents or parents that have a baby. I think I would say when your OBG tells you, or when you go for physical therapist because of back pain, stomach pain, and they tell you, oh, do something, I would advise you actually do it. Because in my home case, they told me use a belly belt. Did I use it? No. Why? Because I thought maybe I could do this on my own without having to use the belly bed. I did try, but I felt like I wasn't able to figure it out, and I just stopped. I just stopped trying. And that kind of like gave so much. It made the baby or the pregnancy add so much pressure on my body. I was having intense back pain. I was having intense rib pain. I was having intense lower belly pain. So maybe if I had done what they asked me to do, or done what they advised me to do, maybe that could have lessened that impact. Maybe it could have. And one other thing
Yeah.
would be that, again, if you want to go into this perinatal journey, I would advise that you are actually mentally prepared. It's not just about saying, "Oh, I think I'm prepared. I have the money now. I have a house. I think I'm old enough." I don't think it's not just about that, because again, I was old enough when I had my baby, of course. But it's not just about that, because that's what I thought. I thought, oh well, financially I'm not bad there now.
Right. It's mental preparation.
Yes. So I'm like, oh well, financially I have a partner, but that wasn't just everything. Are you mentally
Right.
prepared? And again, even when you think you're mentally prepared, you're still not all prepared. So not even if you're not mentally prepared. So you have to emotionally know that, yes, this is for me. I think one thing helped me is I made the decision and I will stick by it. I know I made the decision to have a baby. So I wanted to make sure that no matter what, it's my decision. I made the decision. And no matter what comes my way, I would, bear it. So
Right.
I was
Right.
able to kind of like have that mindset for myself. And I think that helped me get out of whatever phase that I was going through. Because again, trust me, I had a moment too. I had a moment there because again, my expectations were not what I thought it would be. But I was able to kind of like overcome that just because I
Yeah.
knew that, hey, Fatima, you have to think. You made the decision yourself. It's not your baby's fault.
Right.
If your baby is crying, she's a baby. She definitely will cry. What do you expect? So yes, I
Yeah.
have to make sure that I had myself under control. And I'm able to also tell people when I'm going through things. I'm not just like, hey, I have to do this on my own. No, you cannot do it on your own. It takes a village to train a child. It takes a village to actually grow a child too. So yes, I think not gatekeeping your problem to yourself will also help. Will also help a lot.
Yeah, those are really, really good points that you've raised, and thank you for sharing those things. Um, I think the mental preparedness is one thing that a lot of people don't, I think about. Especially like culturally for us, it's like the moment you get married, 3 months after you're married, if you've not called to say,
I'm pregnant.
I'm pregnant, then somebody is wondering, where should they
Yes.
channel their prayer? Like the
Yes.
first year, my mom was always asking me, "Is everything okay? Are you okay? Is everything all right?" I'm like, "Mother, calm down. I'm just not mentally ready for it."
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people don't pay too much attention to it, which I think is very important. And like also, like you said, like talk about it. What I've come to realize is like women are going through a lot, and your challenges are not necessarily like challenges that only you face.
Yes.
A lot of people are going through that and they've navigated it somehow, and then being able to talk about it gives you like access to this bucket of resources that have helped other people.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Thank you so much for
No
sharing that.
problem. No problem.
Final question for you, Fatima. What message would you like healthcare providers or maternal health organizations or organizations that provide services? What message would you like to share with them regarding providing perinatal care to African immigrant mothers?
So one message. Oh, I think I might have two messages. I would be, well, one would be to the healthcare providers, would be, of course, this didn't happen to me, but I've had a lot of people say, and I think that was one thing I was scared about when I found out I was pregnant, was because again, I read a lot of stories about people. I was on baby center, and there were people talking about, oh, I had a feeling that something was wrong with my child. I told my doctor, I told my OBG, and they didn't take it serious. And now something is actually wrong with the child. So
Mm-hmm.
I think it would be very important for them not to cut off any parent. If a parent has a feeling about something, they need to take it as serious as it could be. Because again, it's a human life in this case. It's a human life,
Right.
because you might not think the fetus inside is, I know some people don't really they don't classify a baby, they don't classify a fetus inside, they don't classify it as a baby until it is born yet. But no, it is not that way. So the moment the baby can breathe, the moment the baby has a heart rate, you definitely, that child is a baby. That fetus is a baby. So yes, one thing would be for them to actually take that seriously, and also to make sure that if you are going to you're going to attend to a child and a mother, you want to make sure that you have everything in place for them. You have everything in place for them. You tell them all the risks. Because again, as a new mom, you don't expect them to know a lot. So, but if you're not telling them things they have to know, how are they supposed to know it? It's just like me.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I had to find out about lactation consulting on my own. My OBG didn't tell me anything. They didn't tell me about registering for any betting center, betting class. I didn't know. Of course, I did know, because from some of the things I found out on my own, but it wasn't because my doctors or my OBG recommended it. So in this case,
Yeah.
I would think that, hey, they will want to recommend, and then it's up to you to actually say, oh yeah, fine, I'll take it for my own benefit, or I will not,
Right.
it doesn't really matter. So I think they need to do better when it comes to that aspect, and also
Mm.
for healthcare, for other maternal health organization, I would say investing in the maternal health is so important, because again, this is two people's life you're dealing with, or two people's life on the line. You have the mother. If anything goes wrong with a child, there is a high probability that it would also affect the mother. I recently
Right.
had someone on social media. She lost a baby when the baby was 22 weeks, and that was the neglect of the OBG. In this
Mm.
case, the OBG, she said she had a feeling that something was going on, because she was seeing some fluid, and then the OBG didn't take her too serious. They checked that on in her own words. They checked that, but they said everything was fine. Apparently, her service was already opening at the time. And if a
Mm.
baby is not in the stage where it's supposed to be born and your service opens, there is a high chance that baby might drop. So
Mm-hmm.
the baby was not supposed to drop at 20. I think she was 20 weeks at that point. So the baby hasn't even reached viability stage, a stage where the baby would survive outside of the uterus of the womb. So yes, the doctors, the healthcare providers didn't really do much. And then she lost the baby. The baby died in her, and she developed sepsis, and she was in a coma for like a month or thereabout. So that was
That's
something that could have been prevented if they did I don't know what's called a cyclage. I think maybe it's called a cyclage, where they clip the cervix or something. So that way the baby is able to be inside for much longer before they're able to maybe do an emergency C-section for the baby to be in the NICU. At least that would have saved the baby and the mother from being in a coma. So I read the
right.
story. I felt some. In fact, I cried. I cried like a baby when it didn't happen to me, but I cried because I just could relate. Not in the time of what she went through, but just with the fact that some things your doctors just don't take serious. Because that didn't
Yeah.
exactly happen to me, but I felt like there are some things that the doctor could have. Oh, hey, I think you should do this. I think you should do that. That would definitely help you out. But that wasn't done. So
Mm-hmm.
I would say
Yeah.
that's it.
Thank you so much, Fatima. Yeah, these are really great points. You have to trust the mother's instinct.
Yeah.
If she says something is wrong, check it out at the very least, and I think that's something a lot of healthcare professionals have to prioritize. Once again, Fatima, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today. I really enjoyed learning about your experience, and I'm sure our listeners are also, learning a thing or two. I wish you all the best and so much love as you continue to raise your beautiful daughter. And again, I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your story. And thank you for being our very first guest on this podcast.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And I enjoyed being here. I hope, we're able to get more awareness in the community regarding maternal health. So thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for doing this.
Okay. Take care now.
Bye.
Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Birthing Beyond Borders. I hope you've learned something new or felt seen in today's conversation. If you're a mom listening today, know that you're doing an incredible job, and as a community, we are so proud of you. Please share this episode with another mom or with a friend who might find it helpful. Remember, you are not alone, and you don't need permission to do the things that bring you joy. I'm rooting for you. Goodbye.